Well, welcome back to Living with Parkinson's, the good, the bad, and the reality. I'm Bryce, and if you're new here, this podcast is all about honest conversations about life with Parkinson's. We share the highs, the lows, and everything in between. Well, in the last episode, we talked about what I wish I knew when I was first diagnosed. And today, I want to have a little fun with something that we can all relate to, the advice we get about Parkinson's. If you've been living with Parkinson's for any length of time, you've probably had people, friends, family, or strangers offer their 2 cents on what you should be doing. Some of it is really helpful, and some of it is, well, let's just say it's not that helpful. So today I want to share the best and the worst advice I've ever received about Parkinson's. Some of it will make you nod your head in agreement, and some of it, hopefully, maybe might make you laugh or shake your head in frustration. Either way, it's good advice, or sorry, it's good information, some educational thoughts, but again, sometimes we have to have fun with it. So I want to start with like the worst advice. So the bad advice, because it's if we're honest, there's so much bad advice. So here's the first thing that people say to me that just absolutely anyway is this number one is this: you don't look sick, so you must be fine, right? This one absolutely drives me nuts because I don't look sick means I'm not dealing with symptoms. And Parkinson's is an invisible illness in many ways. The stiffness, the fatigue, and the brain fog, it's all happening, even if someone can't see it, right? Like, it's just unbelievable. I wish people would understand that just because someone looks okay on the outside doesn't mean they aren't struggling. I always think of it like I tell somebody like sometimes someone's at work and we're having a conversation and they're all of a sudden they'll just say, "Oh, I got such a headache. I've had such a headache for a couple of days." And I'm like, "Huh? Are you sure you have a headache? Because we've been talking and I didn't see any signs of a headache." Things like that just absolutely kind of just rub me the wrong way. And again, these people mean it well. I mean, they're trying to be. I think they're trying to be positive. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, it's it's just bad. How's that sound? It's just bad. How about this one? Has anybody ever said this to you? Just think positive and you'll be fine. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for positive mindset. If you've watched any of my videos here, any of the part of this channel, I'm all about positive mindset. But Parkinson's is not something you can just think your way out of. It's a real progressive neurological disease, right? And it's yes, it's good to think positive. Yes, it's the right attitude. I think it gets you in the right position to deal with what we have to deal with. But the reality is, it's not just about thinking positive, right? There's a lot of things that we have to do, and I almost feel like sometimes people are trying to say, like, well, we can like almost wish shit away. I mean, I was at a point where somebody very close to me at the time, um, like didn't believe that I had Parkinson's. Matter of fact, wanted me to get a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth. What do you call it? Uh, I wanted me to get checked again just to make like double check. I can't even think of the word. My brain just like, there you go. That's part of Parkinson's right there. I can see the word in my head. I know what I want to say. It makes sense, but I can't get the word out. It's like re-diagnosis or whatever to confirm it or whatever. You know what? If you're watching or listening to this, do me a favor in the comments. Tell me what that word was if you can think of it, or try to guess what it was. It just completely escaped me. But anyway, how annoying and how if you really think about it, it's kind of awful, right? Because they're disregarding what you're saying. They're disregarding your feelings towards it. And yeah, anyway, that was just horrible, horrible, horrible advice. But telling somebody that just to be positive, it can sometimes make them feel like they're failing if they have bad days. So the truth is, it's okay to have tough days and it's okay to feel frustrated. The key is learning to balance acceptance with hope. Like learning to balance acceptance with hope. Again, we can have bad days. We are going to have bad days. Let's admit it. I have bad days. Matter of fact, I didn't have a very great day yesterday. It was kind of a bad day. And you know, Do I still have a positive outlook? Yeah, of course I do. I just have to adjust when I'm doing that day, or adjust my mindset to that day. And I kind of touched on this in the last episode. And if you haven't seen the last episode, go back and double check that one, because I think it was a good point. Thank you, Bryce. Anyway, I think I made a good point. Was that in the early days of my diagnosis, when I got frustrated with things, or when I got when things were really getting me down, it would take me a very long time to get out of it. It was 6, 7, 8 days, 9 days, 10 days of just being down in the dumps, being depressed and upset, and not in a good space. And really, it's just something I have to practice, and I have to practice. And when I feel that discouragement, when I feel that frustration, when I feel like no one understands anything that's going on with me but me, and how many can say that, how many can say that I can feel that way? A lot of times it's all about, you just feel like you're the only one. You're the only one, that no one understands what I feel right now at this moment. And anyway, in those days, I really have to take a step back and go, okay, it's not just me, right? There's others out there that are dealing with this and feeling the same way I am. And at the end of the day, if I'm gonna feel crappy, I'm gonna feel crappy. So, like, if my mind is crappy, and it's just gonna prolong it, it's gonna make it. I can actually pull out of what I'm into a lot better when I just keep focusing on things that are in my control, and focusing on having some gratitude and being thankful for things. And then really, that's a quick, real fast practice that I do is when I do start feeling sorry for myself or feeling down. And again, no condemnation if you're feeling sorry for yourself right now, because there's days I feel really sorry for myself. But if I start thinking things, I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful that, that this thing's not killing me right now. I'm grateful that I'm going to live a long life. And I start thinking of all the positive things. Most of the time I can pull out of it. And the quicker I do it, the quicker I pull out of it. And so, anyway, again, just remember that last thing. The key is learning the balance to balance acceptance and hope. Okay, now, no matter where you are on your journey, whether you just got diagnosed, maybe you just told your first person that you have Parkinson's, or you've been in this for years and years and years, and if you've been in this for years and years, I bet you're going to say, I can't count how many times that I've been, told this, or someone suggested this, and I'm not going to. Well, let me just tell you what it is. Here it is. Hey, you have Parkinson's. You should try this. And you fill in the blank, right? But it's that magic cure. Oh, hey, you should try this, or you should take more of this, or you should be taking this, or I read on the internet that this works and that works and everything works, and I've got all these. And again, good hearted, but it drives me bananas, because, I can't tell you how many people have said, have you tried cannabis? You should be doing this, or CBD oil and everything else. And again, I'm not against, if it works for you, then do it, right? For me, it's not my thing. And maybe I'm not even there yet. Maybe I'm still doing well on my levodopa and well with the things that I'm doing. So I'm okay right now. I feel okay. Um, and I'm not saying I might not explore something down the road, or when I need it, or all that kind of things. But there's always that magic cure, like this cure. I heard about this and it cured it. And especially on the internet. Oh my Lord, man. Even, if you look at my Instagram, or my TikTok, or my Facebook, or whatever you want to look at. And again, if you don't know, it's Doing Life Today, at Doing Life Today, on Instagram, TikTok, on Facebook, all that stuff. Regardless, it's like, hey, I've heard of this. Have you tried this? You should do this. You should do that. And good-hearted people, but oh my goodness, again, I just can't tell you how many people have told me about this miracle cure, whether it's this diet or the supplement or therapy. And again, like I said, I'm open to looking at different treatments. I really am. Like, I really am open. I experiment and try things all the time. But the reality is that Parkinson's doesn't have a cure, right? If there was a magic fix, then we'd all know about it by now. We wouldn't be having this channel. You wouldn't be watching this video if there was this magical cure and that cured everybody. So it's so important to get your medical advice from professionals, not from Google, not from well-meaning strangers, and definitely not from that one guy on Facebook, or, hey, that one guy on YouTube. Again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm, giving you my best advice, or things that have worked for me. And I hope that maybe you can take some of it. Might not all work for you. Some might work, some might not work, but I'm definitely not a replacement for a health professional. I've been diagnosed for I was just thinking about this the other day. It'll be my 15th year anniversary this year since I got diagnosed when I was 40, and that will be at in September. And I know what you just said. I heard what you just said. You're like, no way. There's no way he's turning 55. Oh yes, I am, and thank you for saying that or thinking that, and if you weren't thinking that, that's okay. Anyway, I sometimes you have to try to make yourself feel better too, right? But anyway, don't like I said, take what you can take from what I give, and hopefully I can share with you some experiences and don't be a stranger. Don't be a stranger. If you had some horrible advice that you've received about Parkinson's, then drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear the stories. Share with this community. And you know what? Maybe if there's some horrible advice that you received, then you did it, and maybe there was a crazy story afterwards, or maybe it didn't work. Just let's share that. Let's share these experiences. And again, and I've said this before. And if someone leaves a comment on the podcast, whether it's on YouTube or the video or on the audio, feel free. If you're a regular here, and I used to call it the DLT Nation, like the Doing Life Today Nation. But if you're a regular here, then reply, and let's make a community. Everybody can step in. It doesn't have to be just me. I don't have all the answers, and I'd love to hear your solutions, thoughts, answers. So anyway, I just leave that up to you to do with what you wish. But anyway, that's some of the worst advice or the worst things and advice that have been said to me. But how about the best advice that I've ever received? Right. So thankfully, not all the advice is bad. And over the years, I have received some incredibly valuable advice that has truly helped me navigate life with Parkinson's. And again, I know you're going to say this again, but again, keep moving. Exercise key. I said in the last video that I wish someone would have told me sooner, earlier in my journey, how important it was. And I'm not saying you have to run 80 miles a day and you have to do hours and hours of exercise, or just move. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And that's that one piece of advice I give to anyone with Parkinson's. It's just move as much as you can, as often as you can. Right. And again, and as I said earlier in some other videos as well, and I'll, it'll be, make sure you go check this out and listen to the rest of this podcast. And so, because we're going to continue to go down this path together, and let's be on the same page. But, exercise isn't just good for your body. It's just good for your mind too. Right. And you can blow off some of that frustration. You can do it. And it puts the symptoms, for me at least, and a lot of people, it pushes those symptoms away. So just and the thing is that with okay, I'm just going to be honest. I hate exercise. I'm not an exercise guru. I don't push exercise like crazy. I hate it. I mean, I used to play hockey and I played baseball, mostly soccer, hockey, and baseball. So I enjoy team sports. I love teams and getting together, and that's why I'm so big on community. It's just I love that aspect of it. I hate running. I hate jogging. I hate all of it. But again, I force myself to do some yoga or something to do something. Anyway, some other really good advice I've gotten is Parkinson's will change you, but it won't define you, and that was a game changer for me. Yes, Parkinson's affects my life in big ways, but it's not the only thing that defines who I am, and it's not the thing that defines who I am. That's for sure. I'm still me. I still have passions and dreams and a purpose, and so do you. And another thing that, like, I guess this is the third thing. I always lose count. So please, if you're taking notes at home, don't, get upset at me if I'm like, hey, this is the fourth thing and I only gave you two, or sometimes I jump all over, and it's a crazy. But again, that finding that community and finding somebody, not being alone. Isolation is so, gosh, it's so easy. It's so easy to isolate. It's so easy to disappear. It's so easy to just disengage, and some of us do, and that's okay. And if you're disengaged right now, that's okay. As a matter of fact, I would say to you, if you're watching this or listening to this podcast right now, that you're not disengaging, because you're actually looking, and you're wanting more. You're trying to glean as much as you can. So you find a community. Just find a community so that you're not alone. Parkinson's can feel isolating, but the truth is there's an entire community out here that we're understanding about what you're going through. We've been there, we've done it. There's support groups, online forums, and lots of organizations that can make a huge, huge difference. So if you haven't connected with others who have Parkinson's, I highly recommend it. There's something so powerful about talking to people who just get it, right? Like we just get it. It's like, yeah, I understand that, and I've been there. I've done that. Man, I get so passionate about this because I really, really. I mean, after I was diagnosed, 5 years of like, man, I didn't want anybody to know. I wouldn't tell anybody. I didn't want anybody to even say anything. I was almost like in denial because I just, and I didn't reach out to anybody. And the more I didn't reach out, and the more I didn't talk about it, and the more I pretended it didn't exist, and the more I tried to push it aside, the more down, depressed I got. And like I said, that was a 5 year process to kind of walk myself out of that and finally feel some peace with the rest of my life. And again, like I said in the last episode, it's kind of weird. I just thought that, but I make jokes about living right now in a 3 hour cycle. My life is a 3 hour cycle. And it's really, that's one of those frustrating things. I don't like that it's so predictable, and every 3 hours, my alarm and timers going off on my phones and all my smart devices to remind me to take my medication. And then I reset and I have 3 more hours, and I got to, schedule in and around and of it and all that kind of stuff. And it really does frustrate me. But as I'm saying now, I'm living my life in these 3 hour buckets. When I got diagnosed, I was living in 5 year buckets, like literally thought and was kind of told that, when I got diagnosed, that I would have 5 decent, good years left. And then it was just going to be, all downhill and bad after that. Right. So that was when I was 40. So when I turned 45, and coincidentally, my birthday's in September, so it's kind of easier to remember. But when I turned 45, that was 5 years. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, things have changed. Things are not as, I'm slower. I've got all this. Jeez, I keep banging the microphone. I'm slower. I've got things that are different about my life, but I'm still here and I'm still okay. And I'm still working. I'm doing things. I'm enjoying my kids. I'm playing sports, fishing, the whole 9 yards. So, okay, not bad. So then I thought, okay, well, then if that was the case, maybe I bought 5 years. So now I have 5 more good years left. And so I just went out and did it. And then I turned 50. So I was 10 years in. Okay. Yeah. Progressed a bit more, but I was still active. I was still doing almost everything I was doing before, differently, mind you, but I was still doing the things I was doing before. So I'm like, huh. And I just about said at that moment, excuse me, I just about said at that moment, okay, I got 5 more years. And I had to stop myself. I'm like, no, don't you say that. I've got a lot of good years left. I don't know how many. I know it's a progressive disease. I know it's going to catch up to me at some point. But man, I'm going to live my life right now to the best of my, like I'm just going to give it everything. And I tell people that it's weird living with an expiry date. Okay. Like we have an expiry date, but the thing is, we don't know when that expiry date is. So we might not be perfect, the longer we get and the longer we're on the shelf, the longer we're here, the longer we're doing things, might get a little smelly, get a little, little distaste, little discolor, but we're still the same as we were. We're still the pea that was in that can. We're still the bean that was in that can. And that is the weirdest analogy I think I've ever used. So I'm just going to pretend I never even said that. You're the pea in the can with the expiry. That is crazy stuff. So anyway, but that's what it is. But how about you? What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been received? Like, tell me. I'd like to know. What is that one thing that someone told you? And it doesn't matter, where you are in this journey. It could be something about the stage that you're in, or the age you're in, or where you're walking to, or where you're getting to. It could be anything like that. And I really am curious to know, like, what was that best stage? Or it could have been right after diagnosis. It could have been, from your doctor. It could have been from your next door neighbor. It could have been from your spouse. Everybody's got great advice. One of the best advice here's another thing some of the best advice I ever got was from my wife. My wife is the one that said, okay, here's how we're going to manage your meds. Because number one, I don't know if you watched my motivational minute. I think it was from this morning or yesterday morning on taking medication. I mean, I literally can take my pills. I'll just take my pills, boom, take them. And like 5 minutes later, I literally will walk by my pills and go, man, did I take those pills? I'm not sure if I took those pills. I'm not sure. I don't know what happened. And now I'm in this like really bizarre moment because I don't want to double up at that time. I don't want to, because when I double up, I really start to, I start to move. I might as well, I'm on the dance floor like a jazz, like I'm really kind of moving. I really, really, really move a lot. Um, that's okay. It's just an after or side effect of taking too much levodopa, um, I don't want to. So I start thinking, but then I start thinking to myself, oh my goodness, if I didn't take it like the next hour or 45, 30 to 45 to an hour, it's going to be hell. I'm going to be so off my medic, like so off. I'm going to have to sit down. I'm going to have to lay down and I'm going to have to take my pills and I'm going to have to wait that 30 to 40 minutes um, before I do anything. So, and I don't want that either. So I'm like in this dilemma. Do I take more? Do I not take more? And I'm just trying so hard to remember. It just, oh my gosh, it's irritating. So, my wife came up with this again, like we set the timer for every 3 hours. I take my pills, and 3 hours later it goes off, and I take my pills. And 3 hours later it goes off, and I take my pills. And I have to take it when the alarm's going off. As a matter of fact, most of the time we're not allowed. How do you like that? We're not allowed to turn off any of the timers until I take it. Like literally, I have to take it, then turn the timer off, which is awkward if you're in a board meeting or in a staff meeting or out in public. But obviously shut it off. I don't let it go crazy like that. But that's the normal route because uh, I know that if I turn that timer off, whether it's on my phone, my alarm clock, my all my smart devices, whatever it is, I know if I turned it off, I've taken the meds. So it was really great advice that she continually gives me, and which is amazing. So I'm thankful for that. So how about you? Like, what is that good advice that you've been given? And I really want to be careful here because I kind of said in the beginning that, all this awful advice, the bad stuff, the bad advice people have given me, the bad stuff people have said, that did drive me crazy. I want to be really careful. I don't think people are evil and awful. By in their core, I think people are good. I believe that in our core we're good people, that you were either deceived or wrong or have a different perspective, or maybe it did work for somebody, but it doesn't work for me. And so I don't want it to come across saying that, that you should, get angry at them or flip out about it, or disassociate from them. What I'm saying is that it's just frustrating and irritating. But I really believe that they're saying and offering and doing things that from their heart. That, hey, have you tried this? Maybe this will help you. Hey, have you tried that? Maybe that'll help you. But my biggest one again is most people ask me about DBS, or no, about oh my gosh, most people ask me about the what's it called, CBD oils and cannabis and whatnot. And again, I'm just not a fan for me. Having said that, at some point, again, maybe I will. So, I think the other thing with partners is you have to be open minded. You have to be open minded to try things and do things differently just to see if it'll work. And again, with the the guidance of your healthcare team. So anyway, that's kind of really what I wanted to make sure I qualified that with. And I'm going to give you the doozer right now. Here's the doozer. And I'm not going to throw my dad under the bus, but my dad drives me bananas, with something. And I'm just going to say it. And maybe you're in the same boat. Maybe someone does this with you as well. But like I'll literally be sitting, we'll be eating dinner or something. And, my hand, like I'll be sitting there just normally, and I guess, and my hand shaking, I guess. And my dad will look over and he'll, oh, Bryce, I'm not sure, your hand shaking, your hand shaking, your hand shaking. And I'm like, okay, thanks, Dad. Thanks for pointing that out. A lot of times I'll put it under the, under my one of my tricks is I put my hands, if they start to shake, like I'll just kind of put them under my thighs, like I'll sit on them, like I'll sit on my hands. And it's crazy because he says I don't automatically do it, or he'll say, but and then I'm like, okay, like, and okay, I'm shaking. Yeah, I have Parkinson's, Dad. But then we'll be sitting there, and we'll move over to the couch and we'll just be talking, and he'll and he your hand's shaking, your hand's shaking. And I don't know what he means at that moment. Like, I don't know if he's trying to point it out because I should do something about it or I can stop doing it. And I've thought a lot about that in it. And again, Dad, if you're watching this or listening or watching this, I am like, I love you, man. I don't, it's just cute. It's kind of cute. It's kind of cute. But uh, I think what it is have you ever like shaken your leg? Forget Parkinson's for a minute, but you know how you sit there and you just kind of like you're bouncing your leg, or you're bouncing your leg up and down, and as a kid, a lot of kids do it. They're just like they're bopping, and your parents say, hey, stop shaking your leg, and you stop. And I think from somebody that doesn't understand or know or can experience has the experience of feeling what a tremor is, and how it works, and that it's not optional. It's not something I'm doing or turning on and turning off myself. I think that's where that comes from. It's like, hey, your hand's shaking. You should maybe stop that. And I'm like that. I can't stop it. Like, don't you think I would want to stop it if I could stop it? So, anyway, that's one of those little again irritants. But and I kind of think it's hilarious. Like, I actually think it's super funny now. If if 5 years after anywhere from like 0 to 5 years after diagnosis, from like D-Day till 5 years, that would like it would probably embarrass me. It would probably go like, oh my God, I am. Oh my God, yes, I am. And I would definitely try to hide it and cover it up. And then it would hurt me. And my dad didn't do that in the first 5 years. So he didn't hurt me. But other people would say stuff like that didn't know that I had Parkinson's. Like, they'd say, hey, I'd be doing a staff meeting and I'd be pointing to the board and my hand would tremoring and I wouldn't realize it. And I realized I'm off and I had missed my pills because I was busy in a meeting. And somebody would say, oh my gosh, you must have had too much coffee today because you're really shaking. And, I'd leave there going like that. Why would he do that? Why would he point it out like that? Why would he do that? And, I realized I didn't tell him I had Parkinson's. He honestly thought I had too much coffee. Haha, that's funny. And it is, it's crazy. And maybe it was a statement, after people knew that I had Parkinson's, then out of respect, they would never have asked me that unless we're just playing around and joking, right? Like we'll make jokes like I'm shaken, not stirred, shaken, not stirred or whatever. Or, we used to, when I'm around a baby and someone's feeding a baby with a bottle, I'll be like, hey, do you want me to hold that for a little bit? And they're like, oh, how come? I'm like, well, that way they can have a milkshake. I think that's kind of funny. Anyway, like little things like that. I feel that humor, and when I can make fun of it and I can own it like that, and I feel like I have power when I take that humor side to it on myself and make jokes about myself or put or jokes about Parkinson's like that. I feel like I take control of it. Like you don't have me, Parkinson's. Haha. I've got you. You don't have me. You're just this, and and that's where I find the humor, and I hope that you understand that and enjoy that as well. So when I'm making my motivational minutes, I try to make them funny every morning that I do them, and try to pick something that is bugging me that week or something that I've dealt with and just kind of put it in its place, right? And it gives me that power. You're down there, I'm up here. I own you. You don't own me. I've got you. You're in me, but you don't own me. So that's where that comes from. Anyway, I just wanted to make this a really quick episode. I just realized obviously my pills are running out, so I'm going to leave it there today. But I thank you for joining me. I thank you. I hope you got something out of this. It was just a quick, fun episode about that stuff, and I'd really want to hear from you. Feel free to put a comment down below. Again, best advice, worst advice. That would be amazing. And you know what? When you're living with Parkinson's, you're going to hear a lot of advice. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. Some of it's just weird. But the key is to knowing what to take in and what to ignore. And I hope that this episode made you laugh, made you think, and maybe even made you feel a little less alone, really, on this journey. So if it resonates with you, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's keep this conversation going. And I'll see you next time on Living with Parkinson's, the good, the bad, and the reality. We'll see you later.